Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Well, we got a tiny little bit of a drizzle last night, early last night. Nothing to be excited about. It didn't even really disturb the dust on the gravel roads, but maybe psychologically it felt good to see a little bit of rainfall from the sky. So we're less than 2 weeks to the big election, right? And it's interesting. It's getting crazy and very heated up, and rumors are spreading everywhere. And number one, I want to caution you about just, I guess, believing a lot of the rumors. I'm not saying that they're all fake, but there's definitely some fake information, false information that's being spread around. So be cautious of that. As it leads up to it, I'd say that it's just going to be this, it's going to be piled on. The last couple of days, some woman has come out claiming that Donald Trump sexually molested her 30-some years ago. Interesting that she decided to come out to say this just before a major election. At the same time, there are rumors that a particular news outlet, which I don't know which one, but a particular news outlet has been given some extremely damning information, apparently, on Kamala Harris, and they may or they may not release that information. There's a lot, and when you start to read some of this stuff, and then, of course, the comments on some of this stuff, it sounds like that it's apocalyptic. It's probably a lot less than that. But it's definitely a lot, and I would expect that this will continue for the next couple of weeks. I have been quite frequently in the last week or so reminding you that you need to be preparing for this. Now, could it be devastating? Yes, it could be. It could be the beginning of the end. It has all of those ingredients for that recipe, but it may not be. And I guess sometimes we have to prepare for nothing to happen, or for something a lot less to happen. Maybe the anticipation is the worst part of it. Who knows? I have stuck by my guns and stuff, saying that I believe that elections are pretty much, they're already predetermined. And I know that irritates a lot of you, but I think that's pretty much the case, that leaders are chosen and not elected, at least at that level. But we'll see how this turns out. In other news, it's becoming more, I don't know. They're noticing it more. Let's put it in the simplest terms. They're noticing North Korean troops a lot more. It's becoming a bigger issue that North Korean troops have moved into Russia, and maybe hours or days away from hitting the front lines of fighting against Ukraine. I think why this is kind of a fairly important deal, amongst all the other things, which is why I keep mentioning it. A lot of people don't realize that we are technically still at war with North Korea. North Korea, the North Korean War, or the Korean War, there was no ending to that war other than it was just a ceasefire agreement. So we're technically still in a state of war with North Korea and China. Interesting. And so these troops moving in and potentially fighting against not really NATO, but NATO assets and stuff, because that's part of how NATO and stuff started to come into an existence, was partly, not all, but partly because of the Korean conflict. So is this going to expand that? Are we going to see? We've watched over the last couple of weeks as North Korea has seemingly started to take measures preparing themselves for war, much more than normal. They're always going around, the little short fat guy is always going around over there talking about war and destroying the West, but it does seem that things have increased some. They went through and they destroyed many bridges and roads that connected North and South Korea, assuming that they're doing that to prevent or to make it more difficult for the Southern Korean military to invade North Korea, although I've not seen any evidence that that's potentially going to happen. It also much more easily will allow or have an excuse for NATO to be more involved with Russia and Ukraine. I mean, there's already calls for that. There's already people on both sides saying that, well, if North Korea can send its troops to Russia to fight alongside Russia, then why can't Germany do that? Why can't NATO send NATO troops? I mean, we've got the new NATO General Secretary stating that Ukraine will become part of NATO at some point. That's the goal. That at some point in the future, that Ukraine will become part of NATO. So if it's pretty much a guaranteed thing, if they're a shoo-in, and you've got now another nation's military fighting against Ukraine, then why not? It was just yesterday, and I don't remember who it was, but it was one of the United States politician, senator, congressman, I can't remember, been too busy. But he stated that they cannot lose Ukraine, that Ukraine has trillions of dollars in minerals and other assets in Ukraine, that they can't lose Ukraine, no matter what, that we have to win in Ukraine. When you get to that point where it's that level of desperation, then that tells me that at some point in the future, the likelihood of the United States doing more than just sending billions of dollars in missiles is going to be likely, that we could be sending troops, that we could be sending nuclear weapons. That's already been talked about. Seriously. German news has been talking about that for the last couple of weeks, that they have information through NATO that NATO is strongly considering sending nuclear weapons to Ukraine. If nothing else as a deterrent, but you know that they would eventually be used. This is going to drag us into more. And then, of course, you include what's going on in the Middle East and how we're being dragged into that. Taiwan, China, we're being dragged into that. The United States is being spread very thin and drained of resources because of all these wars. And that's on purpose. That's a purposeful intent there. But it's going to continue draining our economy. It's draining our weapons supply, so that if the United States ever needed to defend itself, it's going to have difficulty. There's been reports over the last year or so that if the United States found itself in a full-on defensive war, that we might have enough weapons to defend ourselves, a few weeks, because we've spent so much and sent so much elsewhere. We've drained a lot of our reserves. This is all for a purpose, folks. This is the intent is there. We could easily see a scenario where, say, Kamala Harris gets elected as president, and then there is some sort of scenario developed that, America is truly in danger, and we just give in. We make some kind of negotiation with China and give in because we don't have the ability to defend ourselves. We've spread ourselves too thin. We've used up too much of our weapons. These types of scenarios, while they may seem far-fetched, same as sending NATO troops into Ukraine, they're becoming more and more real. And that's why we have to keep preparing. We are living in a time, in an age of chaos. In fact, it was some World Economic Forum person, I can't remember. I don't believe it was Klaus Schwab. It was someone else in the last year said that we're living in an age of chaos, and we have to realize that. That's why our mindsets have to change. It's not 1990 anymore, or 2000, or 2010. I mean, while there were problems happening back then, life was existing in a fairly decent state of normal. We're not there anymore. We're moving towards a new radical normal, a new radical level of chaos. And we have to start changing mindsets, shifting ourselves so that we're prepared and we understand that and we see the world through different lenses. We can't keep thinking of the United States and its relation to the rest of the world and the presidency and government in general in the same way that we did 20, 30, 40 years ago. We have to understand that things have changed, and they will continue to change because we're in a new age, and I don't mean that new age religion. We're in a new time, a time period that we've never experienced, and we must be ready for that, because it's going to continue to change and it's going to continue to affect us in ways that we can't even realize yet. Got to get your houses in order and prepare yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next video.